Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another postseason pod episode. It's just me today. As you can see by the title and the thumbnail, um, the Boston Bruins. I go to BU, so I'm in the city right now. A lot of heads down. Not a lot of fans at TD Garden being as pumped as they usually are. And the Bruins stink right now. I mean, let's just be honest, guys. The Bruins stink. They're 4-5-1. This is 10 games into the season, and at the night of this recording, Halloween. So happy Halloween. I hope you had a good Halloween. In the past. Um, they're losing 4-1 to the Carolina Hurricanes going into the second period. Not the best. So as I was saying, the Bruins are bottom of the Atlantic with only 9 points, 4-5-1. That's a losing record. Um, and yeah, the Bruins are struggling for a whole bunch of reasons. Um, but let's just show you some stats, you know, compared already to last year and everything. So the PK right now is 15th in the league, 80%. Really good. And it's similar to last season's where they ended 7th with 82.5%. So the PK is not the problem. The power play, on the other hand, and we'll get into this a little bit later on, is 26th in the league as with only 14.3%. And last year it was 22.2% at the end of the season. And granted, they didn't have the best power play last year either. But when you still have guys like Pastrňák, McAvoy, and then you bring in big names at the last year, Zadorov, Lindholm, you still have Marchand, you have Coyle, Zaka, like you have decent guys. Pastrňák, who's back from injury, who had an unbelievable like 30, 40 games last year before he left and got hurt. So they have guys that can be good on this team. And then they also re-signed Swayman after that whole fiasco in Chronicles. But the goaltending's not really it's not really the they're not getting the best goaltending. That's for sure. Swayman has played 7 games, 297 goals against, and a 900 save percentage. And Korpisalo, he had a rough first game. And yeah, I mean, Korpisalo, you know what you're going to kind of get from it. You're going to get 3 goals against at least. And that makes sense with his goals against at 340 and his save at 872, but he's only played 3 games. But yeah, goaltending is not the best for sure. It's not what Swayman held out. He held out all this long, like, we're expecting Vezina level caliber. It's definitely not there, but it's definitely not what's causing them to lose these games 100%. But going back to the power play and how it's 26th in the league, 14.3%. And we talked about those names like Pastrňák, Marchand, Coyle, Zaka, Lindholm, Zadorov, the whole lot, right? Even Lorai, who got healthy scratched, who's a guy last year, a great young defenseman, still is a great young defenseman, who puts up points, and he's been scratched because of his play. The Bruins, Jim Montgomery, everyone's this team's slow start right now, and everyone thought that they, would have, especially after the off season with the trades and everything, they would have a lot better starting season. But let's go back to those names, right? So their leading point scorer on the team is Pasta, right? Makes sense. Only 8 points. Only 8 points. And the league leader is 19 points, Kale McCarr. You know where Pasta sits? Pasta sits tied in like something. He's 106th in the league, Pastrňák, for points. When you're paying a guy up, north of 11 million, you want at least double digits 10 games into the year. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. So I mean, people are not scoring on the Boston Bruins right now. Consistency is the biggest problem in the Bruins locker room right now. Consistency, it is not there. I don't know if they need to have an all only players meeting, excuse me, or just they need one win to they need to just kill one team right now and just 8-0, 8-2, set a statement win, get people's morale back up, get people confident, because right now people aren't scoring. Pasta, as I said, only has 8 points. Marchand, granted, did have 3 surgeries this offseason, so it's going to take him a little longer. He has 5 points, so that's not the worst thing in the world. but Pavel Zacha, who got a lot of stick last year in the playoffs for not playing, especially not producing, especially being on that top line. And then Charlie Coyle, only 1 point for Charlie Coyle. And this guy is I credit him as one of the most underrated players in the league. He plays such a 200-foot game, wins corner battles, wins face-offs. He's just, if you're trying to study a player and get the little details about your game, like you study Charlie Coyle. He's a great player to follow, but yet only 1 point in 10 games. That's not the best from one of your top two centermen, in the lineup. Lindholm does have 6 points though, so a little better there. But another big problem with the Bruins is even though it hasn't really come to hurt them, their penalty kill, although is 80%, they've taken 55 penalty minutes, and they're amongst the top 3 most penalized teams in the NHL right now. With, guess what? Nikita Zadorov, their off-season huge acquisition, literally has 21 of those penalty minutes. 21 out of the 55 minutes have come from Zadorov alone. The whole point of the Bruins this offseason were to have these big, scary D-man, McAvoy, Zadorov, Lindholm, Lori, Witherspoon when he's in the lineup. The whole point was to be the big, bad Bruins, Swayman behind them, hard 6 in front of them, minimal goals as possible under Montgomery's system, and yet, the Bruins, not only with those penalty minutes, they are 3.4 goals against per game, only 2.74, and they've given up 34 goals and only scored 27, differential of -7. This D core for the Boston Bruins, right? This is only 10 games in. So, a slump, the lack of discipline. I don't want to say that the legs, call an excuse that they're just getting the legs and the minds back into the swing of things. But, games we're about to get in November. It's November 1st tomorrow at the time of this recording. And games in October, November, December are just as important as games in April, March. You don't think it, but it's 100% true. A season for teams on the bubble, which for right now the Bruins look like they're on the bubble, especially the way that the Ottawa Senators and the Buffalo Sabres are, looking like to be, especially the Senators, look like a wagon, look like to be a really scary team in the Atlantic. And then you have the Washington Capitals too, who look like they might even go back to the playoffs last year as an even better team. So when the Bruins are on the bubble, going like this year right now, these wins in November, December are so crucial. So one of the biggest problems for the Bruins is getting that D core. They don't even have to start scoring. They just have to stop letting goals in and stop taking lazy penalties. Zadorov, I think I saw 10 of those penalties. No, sorry, 10 times 2 is 20. It was like 8 of those penalties were stick, sort of in fragments. So, hooking, tripping, slashing, all the works. So that's just lazy penalties most of the time. And if the Bruins can stop that, if Zadorov can stop that, I don't want to call out just Zadorov, but if the whole Bruins defense and offense, obviously, but if the defense can hunker down, dial in a little more, get disciplined, then this team can go back up to their winning ways. Their last game was against the Philadelphia Flyers. With Samuel Aronson pitched a shutout against them, and they lost 2-0. Korpisalo played. One was an empty netter, to be fair. But yeah, they lost 2-0 to the Flyers. And after they're getting smacked right now by the Hurricanes 4-1. But their next game is November 2nd. And that's versus the Flyers. Maybe a little revenge game. This could be the game that the Bruins use the revenge storyline. Go to Philly, just put pucks in the net. Philadelphia Flyers are not a good goaltending team. you can put at least 6 pucks in the back of the net. You can get Pastrňák scoring, Coyle scoring, Zaka, the D core scoring. Get Zadorov, McAvoy, Lori, get those guys involved. I think they all have 3 points only to their names, especially McAvoy. You want to see a little bit more out of him, obviously. But yeah, I think the Bruins' 2 biggest problems right now are the defense, and the consistency. There's no consistency in the lineup. Maybe on the 4th line, but you can't call that consistency. You're not going to get that all throughout the year, obviously, but you can't call the 4th line just puck luck consistency. You need consistency from your guys that are making up at north of 11 mil, north of 6 mil, the guys that you put in a lot of acquisitions for this offseason, a goalie that you just signed for 8 times 2.5 after he didn't even go to training camp. Excuse me. So the Bruins need consistency throughout their lineup. They need points. They need goals. I think this could be the start of maybe a Bruins down 1 or 2 years, this year, next year, but then I'd say they turn the page again. But obviously this is an organization, this is a city that's not used to having those down years. This is a team that is always good, always relevant, always in the conversation going into September, and usually March and April as well. Right now, like I was saying, the Bruins, consistency is needed, better defense is needed, goal scoring is needed, and they need to start winning now. They're last and 8th in the Atlantic Division, 9 points to their name. They lost again tonight, so this is 4-6-1 in 11 games for the Boston Bruins. They need to start winning. The Sabres have started winning. The Capitals have started winning. Pittsburgh has even started winning to add pressure on it. Detroit's always going to be around that same level. And the Senators look like a playoff team. The Lightning look like they're locking in 3rd place already. Brandon Hagel has looked unbelievable this year. But the Boston Bruins, I don't know. I don't think a coaching change is going to happen because this is Jim Montgomery's last year on his contract. So it's interesting to see how that plays out, especially if they continue to lose. He would have 1 foot out the door. I doubt they would re-sign him. But Jim Montgomery is a great coach, and I'm sure a lot of teams would like to have him. Hell, I would love the Islanders to get him, even though we got Waugh. Because Lou Amarillo, I would want someone to talk back to Lou. But the Boston Bruins, they need points. They need their star players to pick up the pace. They need their D-core to start playing defense. They need to stay out of the penalty box, the biggest thing. And they need to start winning games now. So thank you for joining in. That's what my thoughts on the Boston Bruins. Like I said, the next game is November 2nd versus the Flyers. I think the schedule is fairly easy after that. So if they get one there, they could go on a hot streak. And when the Bruins get hot and when TD Garner starts bouncing, that's a scary team to play against. Boston Bruins, 4-6-1 right now after the game tonight versus the Hurricanes. Like, they're losing, but they need to start winning. They need to play with consistency. People need to start scoring points. Charlie Coyle, come on, man. I met you. Lovely bloke. Well, let's start putting the puck in the back of the net, eh? All right, guys. See you soon. And look out for more short form content along the way. Peace.